Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Milner Browne Wednesday webinar. My name is Ian Bate. I work in the marketing team here at Milner Browne. Alongside me today, I've got Richard Gaughan, who is our technical sales consultant and one of our SAP Business One product experts. As you can see from the screen today, we're going to be looking at how to improve your credit control processes in SAP Business One. Richie will be running through a combination of core functionality in SAP Business One and also showing you our B1 credit control add-on and also the enterprise finance module as well to keep things under control. Before I pass over to Richie, I'd just like to run through some very quick housekeeping tools. We will be having a Q&A at the end of the presentation. We have reserved some time for that, so if you do have any questions, obviously please send those through and we will run through those at the end. We are recording today's presentation as well, so if you would like a copy of that, we will send you a copy via email, and we'll also obviously upload it onto our YouTube channel, and we'll also store it on our blog and our website as well, so it's easily available. Okay, if you just want to close that down, that's it, Rich, and then I'll hand over to you and then we'll get things going.
Thanks very much, Ian, for the introduction, and thank you everyone who has joined the webinar today. As Ian said, my name is Richard Gaughan. I'm a technical sales consultant here at Milner Browne. I would like to show you some things, so we'll move on to the agenda. So the agenda for today is really all around how we can improve your credit control processes within SAP Business One. In doing so, we'll look at how you can manage credit limits. So this is certainly the earlier points here are all core functionality within the system. You may or may not be using some of these functions and features already, but we'll certainly have a look at these and see what is possible in the system. So first of all, we'll be looking at how you can manage credit limits, how you can have control over how much credit you're giving to your customer, and look at the different options that we have where you're maybe dealing with some larger clients, where perhaps there is a head office and branch scenario that you would be trading with your customer on. We'll be looking at how you could manage and encourage your customers to pay their invoices early, which is, I'm sure, a task for many, but we can look at how that can be processed in Business One. We'll look at some aged debt reporting so that you can have visibility on your debtors ledger, how old some of the debts are, what is overdue, what is due for payment now. And we'll look at how you can then start to go and collect some of that debt. So again, with core functionality, we will look at how you can remind your debtors that they are due to pay certain invoices through email, through printing and sending letters. Then from there, we'll move on to some of the innovations that we at Milner Browne have made to SAP Business One. So we'll look at how we can track the activities that your credit control staff are performing, where they're being promised payment from customers, where they are then logging that in the systems to allow them to go and follow up and chase payments that haven't been received when they were promised. So we'll look at that through one of our B1 apps and the credit control functionality within that. And last of all, we will be looking at a platform called Enterprise. So if anyone hasn't seen this as yet, Enterprise is a platform that extends the capabilities of Business One beyond the office wall. So it's very useful for anyone who's out on the road, works from home, interacts with customers face-to-face. So we'll look at how we can use one of the apps there to go and take payment on a face-to-face basis from a customer. And finally, we will end with any questions that you may have. Okay. So we'll get straight into the software and we'll go and start taking a look at how we can improve some of those processes. So the first thing really is the management of credit limits. So I'm sure for any existing customers this is something that you will be engaged with at the moment. Certainly the setting of credit limits. So if I go and choose a business partner here, And from the list we will choose Microchips. And if we go into the payment terms section of the business partner, we can see here that we already have a credit limit defined for this customer of 15,000. And we can see here that they have an account balance of just over 13,000 there. So they're certainly getting close to the credit limit that they have. Business One has some built-in tools to allow you to make sure that credit limits are actually adhered to. There are many different options that you can have. So you can either force or disallow any breach of credit limit so that your users physically cannot exceed the credit limit that's been stated for a customer. We can have a situation where there is a warning provided to the Business One user to say the customer is about to go over the credit limit, would you like to proceed? And finally, where on occasions you would like to allow various different customers to exceed their credit limit, we can trigger an approvals process so that someone in a more senior role can review the situation, can look at the order or the invoice and make the decision, will we allow this one to go through despite the fact that we are now breaching the credit limit for the customer. Okay, so if I take Microchips here, we'll go and put on a sales order for them at the moment. Okay, so I'll go into sales AR and we'll place the sales order. Okay, so select Microchips as my business partner and we'll put on some items here. Okay, and we'll put on maybe 30 of these. So this particular customer is in euros. Of course, Business One is fully multi-currency capable, but certainly this value here now of over 8,000 euros will mean that the customer will be exceeding their credit limit. Now I have this one set up here so that it will trigger an approval in this case. So let's go and try and add that to the system. And we can see here that immediately the system has detected that we will be breaching the credit limit, so I can now submit this for approval. So I can specify a message there to go to my supervisor, saying please approve in this case, and that will now go off to my supervisor so that they can go and review this order and decide whether or not we want to go ahead with this. So at the moment this sales order will sit as a draft in the system until such times as it either has been approved or it has been rejected. Now we can see here that I have an earlier one that has gone for approval, and we can so this would be really from the supervisor's perspective, so we can go and drill into the specific instance of this here. And we could see some detail, for example, on the sales order. I can go and drill into the sales order, get some detail from the product the customer is buying, maybe how profitable this is for us, and really go and review the whole scenario. What I can also do as well is I can actually go and drill into the approvals process. So in Business One, we can have a very simple approvals process, or we can actually make it more complex. The basis of this is we choose who is subject to the approvals process, so we can define all the users in here. In this case it's only me, but we can define as many users as we like here. We can specify which documents the approvals process will apply to. So in this case it's only the sales order, but you can see all the sales and purchasing documents as well as stock movements and outgoing payments can be subject to an approvals process as well. Moving on to the stages, so we can have either one or we can have many different stages when it comes to an approvals process. I have one here where coincidentally I am the only approver who is set up, but we can have a pool of many approvers. So we can have, for example, anyone in the finance team can be set up to approve whether it be a sales order or a purchase document, whatever it may be. And we can also stipulate that a certain number of approvals are given before the document can proceed. And we can have many stages of this as well. Then finally we define the terms under which the document will go for approval. So is it in every case, in which case we choose always, or is it when a certain criteria will apply? So in this case I have chosen wherever there is a deviation from the credit limit that's over 1 penny in this case. But we can have many different criteria, and we can base these on custom criteria as well when we have a query. So really this is the fundamentals of how we can put controls in place, and we can have a workflow there and a defined approvals procedure, really to stop you getting in the position where customers are breaching credit limits. You may have credit insurance in place, you may not, you may decide these credit limits internally, but in normal cases, if someone wants to go and, if someone is potentially breaching a credit limit, you certainly want to be in a position where you can know about that. From there, after everything's reviewed, we can make the decision to say either we approve it or we don't approve it, and certainly the originating user will receive a message advising them what the decision has been. Okay. Now there is another option as well. So I had this approvals process subject to a sales order. If I was to look at the sales invoice, I'll just jump straight forward to the sales invoice, and we'll put in an invoice again for Microchips. Okay, and we'll choose some items again. So in this case, I don't have an approvals process defined on the sales invoice document. I can have if I wish to, but I don't have in this case. But I do have the system configured to warn me wherever we are about to breach a credit limit. So certainly, if your policy is that you do allow some exceeding of credit limits, still you can configure the system to advise the user that you're about to breach the credit limit. Would you like to continue? Okay, so in this case we can say yes, and we can go and proceed with adding the document to the system. Okay, but the real idea there is about control and who can do what within the system. Obviously there are some decisions to be made there as to how you would manage that internally in your business. For more complex scenarios where, for example, we're dealing with perhaps a head office that has many branches or different stores, we can manage credit limits across these different accounts. So let me go and bring up a range of business partners here, and I'll show you what we're talking about. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we'll have here, we're trading with a company called ABC Trading, who have a headquarters, but they also have a branch or a store in London and Manchester. And the way that ABC Trading have asked us to trade with them is they would like to maintain an account of any orders and deliveries that have been made to the individual stores. But they would like all invoices to go straight up to the head office. So the way that we can do that within SAP Business One, if I go and drill into one of the branches here, and I go into the accounting tab, we can set up consolidating business partners. So in this case here, we have the consolidating business partner set to be the HQ office. This is where the eventual invoice is going to end up, but we still make deliveries and maintain an account with the individual store itself. Okay, so the way that would work, if I go and put on a sales order now, and we'll go and choose the London business partner that we have here, and we'll put on a sales order for this one. Okay. So we select the London business partner and we'll add some items as before. So we'll have 2 of these. Okay, perfect. So we put on the sales order, not forgetting the delivery dates. We add the sales order, Oh, we'll deactivate the approvals process first, which would help. In fact, we can bypass this part, but the idea is that we would enter a sales order onto the system. We can go ahead and we can make the delivery when it comes to the individual business partner that we're dealing with. But when we go to make a sales invoice for the consolidating business partner, which I'll just do now. Okay, and when we want to go and pull through deliveries, so normally without a consolidating business partner, we'll be looking at any deliveries that have been made to this individual business partner. But when using business partner consolidation, we can choose them from all the stores and all the different branches there. So in this case, I have some that I've already set up, so I can begin to pull through invoices here from the individual for deliveries that have been made to the individual store. So I have two here for the London one, and I can pull through certainly all of these or some of these into an invoice and go and create the invoice which will be generated for the headquarter business partner. Now for the headquarter business partner, we would go and define a credit limit. So this is really a credit limit for the overall activity that's happening within the entire structure of the head office and each individual branch. So the way this would work is we define one credit limit for the place that is for the business partner that is being invoiced, and each of the subsequent stores or branches wouldn't have any credit limit, but the whole credit limit approvals procedure and the credit limit warnings would be managed by whichever consolidated credit limit that we would define within the master business partner. Okay. So next, we've looked at how we can control credit limits, how we can manage what debts are posted onto the system against each customer in the first place. Next, I want to go and look at how we can begin to go and manage how quickly we are getting some payments into the system. So really one option and one approach that some companies take is offering the facility of early payments. So again, I'm going to go and look at, we'll go straight to an invoice in this case. Okay, and we'll look at this last invoice that's in the system here for Microchips. Now, definable on the business partner are payment terms, and these pull through to the invoice. You can change these on an individual basis if required. In this case, we just use the default payment terms. These payment terms are designed and set up to allow for a cash discount. Okay, so I have these here, which is this code here means 2% discount where paid within 10 days, otherwise the standard payment terms are within 30 days. So if I go and drill into the cash discount name here, we can see how this is actually defined. So we can see here we simply need to go and define what the discount terms are here. So if paid within 10 days, the customer will receive a cash discount of 2%. Okay. Otherwise, as defined in the normal payment terms, the payment due date is going to be 30 days from the document date in this case. Okay, so we already have an invoice posted onto the system here, but how does this work? How does Business One manage this? So there's nothing really extra for you to do, certainly. When we go and receive in a payment from this customer Microchips, which we'll just go and do now. Okay, so we can see their last invoice here. It is not overdue, it's not yet due to be paid, but they're paying this one early. So we're going to select this one, and then we will go into the the payment means window and see how this one is going to be paid. Okay. So we're going to choose our bank account, enter today's date to payment and put in whatever reference that we're going to have there. And we will have the amount that the customer is paying as well. Which is this amount here. Okay. Now, if we go and review the amounts that we're looking at here, again, this is in euros, but we can see that the original document total here was 8,496. But the amount that the customer is paying is 8,354. So the system recognises that because the invoice is being paid early, that this 2% discount in this case will apply to this transaction. And the system will automatically calculate how much it expects to receive, and you can go and enter that amount into the system. So if I go and add this now, we can go and take a look at the impact that would have on the system, and we'll go back to the last one here. Okay, so if I go and look at the corresponding journal entry that's been made here, we can see that the bank has received the discounted amount in euros in this case, but the customer has been credited for the full value of that invoice. And where has the difference gone? The difference has been posted to a customer discounts account for early payment. So we can map that. You can see that within your general ledger, and Business One really handles everything there to do with early payment discounts and handles the whole process for you. Okay, so again, maybe it's not something for your business, but certainly to improve cash flow, to deal with any debtors who have a habit of paying late, it's certainly an approach that you could take to offer early discounts, to offer discounts for early payments rather, and Business One can help you in managing that process. Okay. Otherwise, having a look at what is owed to the business in a general sense, we do have standard aged debtor reports in Business One as well. And so if I go into the business partner reports, go into the aging section and look at the customer receivables. Now I can define all kinds of criteria in here, as you can normally with any reports in Business One. So I have my period set up here to be in buckets of 30 days. I want to use today's date as the aging date. So I'm going to go ahead and run that report. And I can expand this or collapse it to go and have an overall view of my debtors. So I can see here who is due me money, what they are due me money on, which amounts are not due yet for payment, and which amounts are due and which bucket they fall into. So is it 0 to 30, 31 to 60, etc. And I can get a good picture there of how I am doing from an age debt analysis, how well credit control is performing as a team, and really get the full picture as to what's going on with my debtors ledger. Okay. Now what happens now, so we have an overall picture of the debtors that we have on the system. The question is now, do you have the correct tools in place to allow your credit control team to function sufficiently? Do they have tools to go and track the efforts that they're making to go and perform their duties, I suppose it is. So one way that we can aid with that process is simply the initial reminder to a debtor that they are actually overdue. So there's a core feature before we go into some of the Milner Browne specific functionality. There is a core feature which will allow us to go and generate letters and email them or print them and post them to the customers. So if I go into Sales AR and I go down to something called Dunning Wizard, Dunning Wizard will really take the same data that we have from the age debt analysis and look at who's overdue based upon some criteria that we have. These criteria we can save as a batch so they can be reused the next time. Now, if I go through this wizard onto the first stage, we'll see that here is the screen where I don't have any previous criteria set up, so I will be starting a new Dunning run, but I can save criteria and load the previous one. Okay. Next onto here, I can give it a name. I can define Dunning levels and Dunning terms. So, for example, for someone who has already received the first letter, I may want to go and send all of those people a second letter. I may wish to decide to say I'm going to do this for all customers who are actually overdue. Okay, and I could also provide Dunning terms there as well. So this really manages about if and when we would apply any charges that were maybe in the contract that we would have with the customer to say, okay, if we need to send you a reminder letter, there will be a fee for doing so. And that type of thing, any penalties that you would maybe have in place for customers not making payment on time. Okay, so next we go and choose which customers we would like this Dunning run to apply to. You can choose specific customers, you can choose them from the range of codes, the range of business partner codes, the customer groups, and any other properties that are defined on the business partner as well. Okay, I'm going to choose everyone here. I've already selected these in the list. And again, I can select or deselect anyone that I would like to here. Okay. I have some other criteria here as well. The important ones here are really when we would like to look up to in terms of document dates and due dates that we're looking at. So certainly primarily we're looking at anything that's due up to now. We're not really, as a credit control team, interested in anything that isn't due for payment as yet. So we can go ahead and proceed with that now. And then we will get an overview of what we are planning to do as a credit control team. So we can see here that given the criteria that we've specified, we have a number of customers who are overdue. So we can use this data to go and generate reports, essentially letters that we would go and send out to the customer. If I go and select this one here, Maxitech, and I go and preview the document that we would be sending to them. So again, this is based on the inbuilt Crystal Reports functionality that we have in Business One. If the letter isn't quite the way that you would like it, they certainly are editable. But we can see here the report that's generated from the system here, and it details all of the outstanding amounts that we have for Maxitech, and the idea is to send this to them to prompt them to actually go and pay the money to us and get the debt settled. Okay. So again, we can select which invoices are subject to these reports, which ones that we would actually want to go and send out, and which ones we wouldn't. So for example, I may say, okay, I know there is a problem with these invoices, or we've agreed that they will pay them at some time in the future, whatever it may be, and then we can go and continue on. And then from there we have a number of options to go and either save the selection for processing later, we can print the letters, we can email the letters, that type of thing. So again, without looking at customers on an individual basis, looking into every account to see which items are overdue, which items are not overdue, we can quickly go and have a look there and send out reminders. When it comes to any activity that we would have after that, we would be looking at interacting with customers potentially by talking on the phone, face-to-face basis, by email, whatever it may be. So when it comes to the Milner Browne functionality, we have some additional credit control functionality within B1 apps. So the first part of this is really the collection inquiry screen. So again, I have visibility on customers of the balances that they have, but the numbers that we have over here are promises to pay. Okay, so how do we get something to appear in that column? What does a promise to pay actually mean? So let's say we'll go back to Microchips again, and if I go and right click on here, I I have a number of options that appear. So I can choose new diary entry. Where you would do this is you identify that the customer is due some money. We go and call the customer and we ask why they haven't paid their invoices. So we go and look in the list here of any invoices that are due to be paid. These ones are quite old. Certainly we're not winning any awards here for credit control performance, but regardless, we can go and say, right, okay, these invoices are due for payment. The customer says, okay, number 13 and 15, I will pay that to you tomorrow. So what we would do here is we select number 13 and 15. We can take the amounts from these and click copy value from invoices. And we see here this value box is now populated with the values from those invoices. And we see a note is put in here as well detailing where that value actually came from. Okay, so we can put in here now, payment is expected tomorrow. We can say payment will come by bank transfer. Okay, on 15th June. Okay, what we can do in addition to that is we can actually specify a due date here. So if I go and specify the 15th of June, and if I haven't received it by the 15th, I would like to go and follow this up on the 16th. Okay. Now what this does is that this fully integrates with the normal activities functionality that we have in Business One. But it's a special, it's a layer above, it's a wrapper for an activity. So we can see here now that for this customer Microchips, we have a promise to pay, which is scheduled to be on the 15th, which is the weekend in the 16th of June in this case. If I want to go and get more detail, I can click on show 5-day detail there, and it will go and explode this particular week so that I can see on which individual days payments have been promised. Okay, so this really gives you an overview of what has been promised when you're expecting to receive money, essentially a cash flow based upon promises from your customer to pay. And if I just come out of this screen as well and show you the other side of this, we can look at this from a diary list perspective. So these are really all of the promises to pay that I have added to the system through the interactions that I've had with my customer. So I can see here, for example, that we have one, we'll have a couple for Microchips here in this case, and I can go and start to get a view. So I can look at the due date. I can maybe go and filter these by the due date. I have one here for a company called Maxitech. They have promised to send a bank transfer on 24th of June. We haven't reached that yet, so there's nothing really for me to do there. But I can certainly go in and drill into this and go and find out more detail. Customer said they have some cash flow problems, promised to pay by 24th of June. So typically in Business One, out of the box, we don't have great functionality when it comes to tracking promises to pay, which is where the Milner Browne innovation comes from. I'll give your credit control team the tools to track what has been promised, when it will arrive, and finally, if it doesn't arrive by the date that has been promised, they then have an action item to go and chase that payment again and find out what the latest scenario is. So really giving good visibility to your credit control activities and allowing your team to perform efficiently. Okay, finally, the last item that I would like to show you is in the enterprise platform. Okay, so the scenario where simply some of our customers, a lot of businesses will deal with customers face-to-face. They may make deliveries face-to-face and deal with them on a face-to-face basis. Where that's the case, we can make use of the enterprise platform. So the enterprise platform, again, for anyone that doesn't know, covers a full breadth of functionality. We can do things like manage expenses. We can, oh, sorry, I apologise, there's an advert there. if anybody's interested in that, please contact them directly. But there's a full breadth of functionality where we can manage service calls, we can deliver items, we have some CRM elements, manage expenses. The one that we're looking at today is finance. So this is really useful where we have, for example, a delivery driver, and you maybe want the delivery driver to go and collect some payment from a customer before further goods are delivered. So in this case, we can use the finance app within Enterprise, which fully integrates with SAP Business One. Let me show you how this works. First of all, the real important thing for anyone who has multiple legal entities is Enterprise is fully compatible with multiple entities. So here I can choose which companies that I want to see customers for. I'm only going to choose this one here, demo company in this case. From there, I can look at my list of customers and I can begin to go and sort them in any order that I would like. So I want to go and sort them by name. Maybe I want to go and sort them by amount. Ascending and get the highest debtors to the top of my list here. I can also look as well, we have a predefined age debt analysis, as it were, for the customers as well. So I can begin to toggle on and off which debts and which debt ranges they fall into that I would like to view in this case. So from there, I can then begin to search for a company. So I'll take this customer here. Okay, so the idea is you can have multiple invoices. We can select which ones you pay, and then if I go and select on pay here, I have two methods. So I could either go and process a credit card. I go and specify the name in here, all of the details that the credit card merchant would need to go and process the card. So that's the name as it appears on the card number, your CV2 or CVC codes, and the expiry date of the card. So that Enterprise will go and take that, it will go and process the card payment. So the card payment will be processed by the merchant, eventually end up in your bank, and it will make the incoming payment in Business One. Automatically reconcile the payment with the invoice just as you would have in a normal incoming payment. Alternatively, if the customer wants to go and pay the debt by cash, again we do that. It's just the slightly different parameters in the payment means when it comes to the incoming payment. So if I go and pay this one here, we'll just choose cash, then that will now go and settle that debt from the customer. They will no longer appear in my app as being overdue for the amount of the invoice that we've just paid. And yes, as I said, we can now resume service as normal.
Okay, as I mentioned at the start of the call, we have got Richie just for a couple more minutes. So if you would like to ask any questions about any of the functionality that we've run through today, please send those through now, and we can obviously address those while we've got Richie on the call. Okay, then Rich, a question here. Can you automatically adjust credit limits after a specific period of time in SAP Business One? For instance, if a customer had been with us for 12 months, etc.
There's not a way to do it automatically. However, we do have tools when it comes to two tools really that would come to mind. One is a workflow tool, but probably easier to implement would be certainly a query, just a normal user query, which is a standard tool in SAP Business One. So we can do things like that to report and prompt someone to take some action. So we can run a report to say customer has been trading with us for 12 months, actually review the credit limit. Now that would require somebody to manually go and review the credit limit and increase or decrease whatever it may be. Something like automatically changing that value would be a development that would have to be made. There's certainly nothing out of the box that would do that.
Okay, hope that answers that question. Question here from Raksha. My apologies if I've mispronounced that. With regards to credit limits, if we wanted to use the functionality merely for a pop-up reminder as opposed to stopping a sales order, is that possible?
Yeah. Yes, so you can, the way that I've had this set up here, so when I went into the sales invoice screen, we had a pop-up reminder happening there. The way that that would work is simply when it comes to the approvals processes that we looked at earlier, we just we just wouldn't have any. This is the thing that blocks and requires the additional control. If we just want the pop-up reminders to happen, we can go into system initialization, general settings, and if I can just, yeah, so there we go. Customer activity restrictions. If we pick credit limit there and whichever of these documents that you would like the one to pop up on, we can make that happen by doing that. So it should be a setting that you can define within your own system.
Excellent. Okay. I can see that we've got a question coming in from Samantha. I'll just run through another one here. Can the system generate a list of business partners close to their credit limit without having to add a new sales order to get an alert?
Yes, it depends on what you mean by close to the credit limit. I mean, it sounds there like there is some specific functionality, so there isn't any report that will by default tell you when we're, for example, at 90% close to the credit, we've used 90% of the credit that we have. However, when we go and look at something like the age debt analysis, so if I go into this and look at this here, we can have, now let's see if we have this here. Okay, and doesn't appear we have that available. I think there's certainly a way to do that with a query, and what you can do there is you can specify a parameter that would say, give me customers who are at 90% of the credit limit, 85%. You could even run the report and decide at the time, you know, how far away they were, whether it was a numerical value, they have £500 to go, or they have another 5% to go. Really, that is what the queries tool is used for. It's to, you know, take some preventative measures, take some action based upon data in your system. I would suggest that's probably the best way to go and look at that. It's not a complex thing to set that up, but it's, you know, it's maybe something that we can take offline, Ian, if that's okay, and look at that one in a bit more detail.
Yep, certainly, that's no problem. Okay, as I said, guys, if you do have any more questions, please send those through now. Samantha has done that. Hi, Richie. I wonder if there is a way we can select credit notes and calculate to an actual figure due for a particular period when setting up a credit control diary note.
We don't have, we only have invoices, so when the software was built, we only focused on invoices. I mean, to be honest, and thank you, Samantha, for that comment, because I think it's quite a valid point. I think it's certainly something we should take as a suggestion and put in for a future improvement into the product. I can understand where if a customer is owing £500 and certainly has a credit limit for £600, they wouldn't expect to receive a phone call from you, never mind pay you anything. So yeah, it doesn't do it is the answer, but we'll certainly take that on board as a suggestion.
Okay, I guess that's a case of kind of watch this space then, and hopefully that'll be something that may come down the line. Okay, Rich, another question here. What types of follow-ups alerts are available in B1 Credit Control? Is it just the standard email alerts?
So we have the diary entries interact with the activities in Business One. So for example, here I have my activities reports. So I can go and look at all the activities that I have entered within the system. We can also have that as well appearing as an alert within my messages and alerts window as well. So because it uses that existing functionality, anything that we can do with alerts, such as run a report to see which ones are outstanding, and email a list of alerts and have them appear in my messages and alerts window, we can do with credit control diary entries. I hope that answers the question.
Excellent. Okay, and this looks like the last question. Guys, if you do have any more anything else to send through, now's the time to do it before we wrap things up. Can you process part payments on the Enterprise Finance app?
Yes, you can. So if see if I still have this open. There is a limitation to doing this. Let's see if we can do that. So we can only do it where you process one. So if I go and choose our friend Microchips again, where I choose one invoice to go and pay, I can go and choose to go and reduce the amount. So let's say we're reducing this one by 500. I can choose to go and reduce that. Where we're choosing more than one, we can't do that. So the option is enabled, and simply the option is disabled, simply for the reason that in order to go and have the logic of, you know, if you have two invoices, is one being paid in full and the other one's being part paid, it can become quite complex. And Enterprise is very simple, very fast, very easy to use, and only $9.95 per user per month for access to all of the apps and the web app as well. So it's not something that we have when it comes to multiple invoices, but for one, absolutely we can process part payments.
Excellent. Okay. Another question here from Jim. This is a good question. Dunning letters, are they run on plain paper, or can you use your own letterheads?
You could use your own letterheads. I mean, that's just really a matter of what you put in your printer. So the report that you have is fully definable. So if I'll not go back into it, but any of the crystal reports that we have within Business One are fully customizable. So the whole, I guess, printed letterhead that you would have can be changed. And I'm assuming that we're talking about a pre-printed letterhead here, Jim, if that's correct. But, you know, you can certainly remove the printed bit from SAP Business One. You can go and print that on your own pre-printed letterhead. If we're talking about a printed letterhead, we can certainly manipulate that and take any data from the system. I think if there's something specific that you're looking to do there, Jim, maybe get in touch with us or your account manager, and we can have a look at that in a bit more detail. But I think generally the concept and answer to your question is probably yes.
Yeah, Jim's just informed us that it is around pre-printed letterheads. Okay, so I hope that...
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Jim. Okay, we don't have any more questions that have come through, and we have kind of gone over our time limit slightly, but that's only because we went into quite a bit of detail with regards to all of those different stages. If you guys do have any more questions, we're obviously happy to kind of take those offline, and we'll obviously get back to you. Our next Wednesday webinar will be in a couple of weeks' time, so please keep an eye out for your invite. We send these directly to your inbox, so if for any reason you're not on our marketing list, obviously please let us know, or obviously just keep an eye out for those in a couple of weeks' time. We will be doing another one of our very popular how-to videos, so please keep an eye out for that. Obviously, if you would like any more information around any of the functionality or the software that you have that Richie's run through today, please contact your account manager. We'll obviously be more than happy to give you a demo around the B1 credit control app. And obviously, if you would like a bit more information around the Enterprise Finance app, we will also put you in touch with the guys over there, and they can get in contact with you, and you can arrange a kind of personal one-to-one demo. Okay, as I mentioned a moment ago, if you do have any more information or any more questions, please just send us an email. You can get in touch with us at marketing@milnerbrown.com. That's marketing@milnerbrown.com. Okay, we don't have any more questions today, so I'll wrap things up there. Richie, thank you very much for your time today. We hope you've enjoyed the webinar, and we hope to see you soon for another one of our Wednesday webinars shortly. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.